Welcome back, team. Okay, so this video is going to cover how to lose fat through dieting correctly. Okay, so in this video I'm going to take you through and actually teach you the most effective, accurate and guaranteed way you can drop body fat through dieting whilst maintaining all of your muscle mass. It's a very simple process, and this is exactly what I do for myself when I'm dieting for a shoot or a video recording, and this is the exact process I take all my clients through when they want to drop body fat as well. So what you need to do to start with is come up with a diet that's going to fit into your life, okay? Be realistic for you to do on a daily basis, and most importantly, you want this original diet to contain as much food as possible. Yes, that's correct, you heard correctly, as much food as possible, okay? When you start a cut or decide you want to start dropping fat, you need to start on a really good amount of food. So you want lots of good quality carbs. And when you're dieting to drop fat, there's no one diet that's going to work for you. It's impossible. There isn't just one cookie cutter diet that works for everyone. You need to make constant changes to your diet on a weekly to fortnightly basis if you want to make continual progress. And I don't care if you go through me as a coach or someone else, or even do it by yourself, but never ever pay for just a diet plan, okay? Your diet must change on a very regular basis. Like you need an actual coach that's going to stick with you through the whole process. So it's not so much the foods you're eating or anything, but more so the amount you're eating that changes. So if someone says they'll do you a diet for you but won't make any changes, you're just paying for the original diet, don't do it, okay? It's just not going to work. So you're not going to see any good results from just a diet plan, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Your original base diet for a male should contain at least 6 to 8 meals, and for a female it should contain around 4 to 6. So you might think that eating 7 or 8 times a day is a lot of food, and you can cram that amount of food into 3 or 4 meals, but you don't want to do that. So eating on a more frequent basis is the very first step in dropping fat, and probably the most important step because it kickstarts the entire process. Okay, you want to think of it like this, okay? If you're eating 3 times a day, you eat one meal, your body processes that. 4 hours later, you eat another meal, your body processes that. And 4 hours later, you eat another meal, and your body processes that. And then for the entire day, your body is only processing food and sending the nutrients from the food you're eating where they need to go 3 times a day. Now, times that by 7 meals a day, okay? Your body has to process food on 7 different occasions. It's working in overdrive to send those nutrients to where they need to go. You're feeding your muscles good quality foods constantly throughout the day. Your body's going to start performing like a fine-tuned machine. It's going to be functioning at its best all the time. Your muscles are going to be fed good quality nutrients throughout the entire day, and this is literally the one and only way to increase the speed of your metabolism. So a funny story, if you actually ask my girlfriend what is her number one pet hate in the supplement industry, she would say that when products lie to you and tell you their fat burning product is going to increase the speed of your metabolism, it is absolute bullshit. The one and only way to increase the speed of your metabolism is by increasing the amount of meals you're consuming on a daily basis. So do not get sucked into the marketing of supplement companies. Eating more frequently is the only way to increase the speed of your metabolism. When you're putting together your base diet, which I teach you how to do in my video, Proteins, Carbs and Fats, hopefully you've already watched it. If you want to be eating for, let's say, 7 meals a day, and females 5 meals a day, okay? This is your number one priority when dieting for fat loss. The more frequently you're eating, the faster your metabolism is going to become, then the easier it is going to be for you to drop body fat. So every meal you have, it must contain protein. If you're having a meal with protein, carbs and fats, it's all good. It is a productive muscle burning plan. If you have a meal with just carbs and fats, it's just a waste of time. You need that protein there. It's not going to have any benefit at all on your body because it doesn't contain any protein. Every single one of the 7 meals you consume on a day-to-day basis must contain protein. Remember that 7 to 8 times a day your muscles are getting fed the nutrients it needs. You've got to have protein in there all 7 times, or 8 even. Everything I do and everything I know is basically self-taught, okay? And the way I learn is by trying methods on myself. Obviously I've worked with people and all that and had guidance over the years, but the only way you're really going to know if something works is to try it on yourself and make your own decision. Okay? What I've done with my own knowledge is taken parts from this person, from that person, from him, from her, and whoever I've worked with, and put it all together, and now I have a full-on understanding of how everything works. The very base or the underlying principle on how I determine whether or not I think a method is going to work or not is if it makes sense logically. Okay? If you can lay it all out in your head and understand the process, you can logically understand how that process works and it makes perfect sense, then the chances are it's correct and that it's going to work. Okay? The way I diet and the way I'm about to explain to you how to drop fat through food makes perfect sense to me logically, and that's why I use this method for myself and the thousands of clients I've helped to get in incredible shape. Logic is the underlying formula in everything we do when it comes to building muscle and dropping fat, which you'll come to understand as you watch more of my videos. Everything you do needs to make absolute sense in your head, okay? If you don't understand it, you're probably not going to stick to it and it's probably not going to work, okay? So when you're dieting to lose fat, it needs to be for a set period of time. The reason I do a 16-week program is because cutting for 16 weeks is more than enough time to drop a large amount of body fat. You can drop the fat at a very good pace and you don't have to do anything too drastic that may cause you to lose muscle mass, okay? Or even get sick, because you don't want it affecting your immune system. So the reason I also recommend cutting for 16 weeks is because you just can't keep cutting forever. You will run yourself into the ground. So the process I'm about to explain to you is how I would cut and get rid of as much fat as I can whilst maintaining all of my muscle mass over a 16-week period. Losing fat is very easy, but you need to do it properly because losing muscle is the absolute worst case scenario. So here it is. 7 meals for a guy, 5 meals for a female. In all 7 meals you want to have protein, carbs, and 2 of the 7 meals you want to contain good quality fats, but we are going to focus on the carb intake. So when I'm dieting, my protein and fats stay the same throughout the entire process. The carbohydrates are the only variable that change when it comes to dieting for fat loss. Some people do increase the fats as the carbs get cut, but I personally believe you should be on a good amount of fats from the very start and should not need to increase them as you go along. So we're going to be focusing on the carb intake, okay? Now when you start dieting, you have protein in all 7 meals, like I said before, and you have carbs in all 7 meals, and the fats stay the same from start to finish. In week 1 of the cut, you're on the absolute maximum amount of food you'll be eating for that entire 16-week period. You will not be dropping any fat from this. This is the maximum amount of food you'll be eating for the entire 16-week period. You need to let your body get used to a really high amount of food. It's very, very important, okay? If you start on a minimal amount of food, like right down the bottom, what food do you have to cut from your diet to drop body fat? If you want to get leaner, you need to be cutting food from your diet on a regular basis. And if you start too low, you've just got nowhere to go once you start cutting food. So you need to get your body used to the highest amount of food it can handle, and you eat that amount for, let's say, 2 weeks to start with, okay? Now, you want your body to get used to that amount of food. You need to let your body weight stabilize on that amount of food. So it's important to be checking your weight every day as well. So when your body weight does stabilize on that amount of food, it's going to be lightning fast now, okay? Your metabolism is going to be very, very quick. It's getting used to burning so much. Because you've been eating 7 meals a day for 14 days with carbohydrates in all 7 meals, which means now you can start the fat loss process. Now, once your body weight has stabilized on your original base diet, that nice and high, so you'll be able to cut carbs from one of your meals then. Now, after you cut carbs from one of your meals, you might drop a kilogram, let's say, in the process over that week or so. Then the next week you add in an hour's cardio each day, and you might drop another kilogram that week. Then the week after that, you cut carbs from another meal, then you might drop another, say, 500 grams. Then the week after that, you add in another hour's cardio on top of your training program you're already on, and you might drop another kilogram. You see where I'm going with this? Just in little increments each week, you either drop food or add a bit of cardio, and the body fat will start to come away, okay? Now, if you follow this gradual carb cutting process until you have cut carbs from every meal, except your post-workout meal, okay? It's calculated and very accurate and effective process. So each week into the cut, you cut your carbs from one meal, then the week after that you add in an hour's cardio, cut carbs from another meal, then add in another hour's cardio, and so on all the way through to week 16. Can you see how that pattern keeps going for 16 weeks? You should never cut your post-workout carbs, because that is when you run the risk of losing muscle, okay? You can cut all the carbs you need to do it gradually over a lengthy period, but you must keep your post-workout carbs in your muscles so that they still get the chance to recover and be replenished with glycogen and they won't deteriorate, okay? So the best way to lose fat is to do it gradually, very, very slowly. If you cut all your carbs in week 1 or 2, your body will drop weight very, very fast, maybe 2 or 3 kilos in a week, but then your body will become accustomed to that amount of food and you'll stop losing weight and you'll have very, very little energy and you'll start to plateau and stop losing fat. And then your body needs the energy from somewhere if you keep up that activity, so that's when it starts feeding off your muscle, and we don't want that. So you do need to cut your carb intake gradually. Now, I know waiting is a pain and we all want to look good now, but trust me, I go through this battle all the time, but by going through the correct process, it's going to make a huge difference to the end result, okay? If you cut your carb intake gradually, you'll continue to lose fat throughout the entire 16-week period and you will not plateau. You'll maintain all of your muscle mass, you'll have a good amount of energy for the majority of the process. However, as you can see, after about 10 weeks or so of increasing cardio and cutting carbs, your carb intake is going to get pretty low and your cardio is going to be pretty high. So the further you get into your cut, the better your results are going to be. After about week 4 or 5 of cutting, you'll get so hooked on the results, and each week you're just going to get leaner and leaner by gradually cutting the carbs, one meal at a time on a weekly to fortnightly basis. Now this process is guaranteed to work. It's not just a fad, it's not something I would tell you to do if I didn't think it was going to work, it's just pure science. Energy in versus energy out, okay? I like to see it as an intelligent, logical process that makes perfect sense to maximize the amount of fat one person can lose over a 16-week period of time whilst maintaining all muscle mass, okay? The risk of losing muscle going through this process is basically zero, and the chances of building is also very high because of the carb intake in the first month of the cut, okay? One thing I need to mention is the importance of being consistent, okay? If you're missing meals here and missing meals there and cheating on your diet and missing workouts here and there and stuff like that is going to affect the fat loss process, okay? Consistency is key. Your body won't be used to the same amount of food, and then when you cut those carbs, it's just not going to work, okay? You need to program your body like a computer to expect a certain amount of food, and then you take it away from it little bits at a time. If you're eating the same amount of food on a daily than weekly basis, nailing it every week, then you cut those carbs, increase the cardio gradually, it makes perfect sense that the fat is just going to fall off you, okay? But like I said, you need to be consistent. Cutting carbs and increasing cardio over a long period of time is going to result in consistent fat loss throughout the entire period. Have one cheat meal every week, which you should do as well, just to keep you sane and give you some form of enjoyment through food. But the key to this whole process working is dedication and consistency, okay? You must get your meals in and you must get your workouts done every day. I actually forgot to mention that when we're starting the cut, it's actually a great time to build muscle. So the reason I prefer this method over every other method is that the risk of losing muscle is extremely low, and the chances of building muscle and dropping body fat at the same time is actually quite high. So when you're on 7 meals a day and all of them are containing the max amount of carbs for your diet, you're definitely going to build some muscle, and this is actually how you build muscle and drop body fat at the same time by following this process, which I cover in one of my other videos. So a lot of the time, the weight on the scale won't move for the first 4 or 5 weeks because the carbs are actually building some muscle there while you're in the process of dropping fat. If you're losing fat and building muscle, your weight tends to stay the same because they counteract each other, like this. And this is why you cannot use the scales as a KPI or an accurate measure to your results. Now, after you've successfully completed the 16-week fat loss period, not only will you have more muscle mass because you're on such a high carbohydrate intake, but you have just completed the correct process in dropping fat. So the end result, most of the time, actually results in you having much better shape, more muscle mass, and obviously you'll be a lot leaner because it was the primary focus. Okay, so I just want to recap what you need to do to lose fat through dieting correctly. You need to be eating approximately 7 meals a day if you're a male, 5 if you're a female. All meals must contain protein and all meals must contain a good quality carbohydrate to start with. Each week you cut carbs from meal 1, In the alternating week you add an hour's cardio, then you cut carbs and add cardio, cut carbs and add cardio, 1 week at a time, all the way through to the end of the 16-week period. I promise you, if you do this properly, you stay dedicated and you bust your ass in the gym for the whole 16 weeks, you will be in the best shape of your life. I'm not being arrogant here, I'm just being honest, okay? I'm one of the largest, most successful online coaches in the world. I have thousands of testimonials to back up what I'm saying about this process, but the main thing I want you to do is not take my word for it, but try it yourself. I guarantee it will work for you as well. 100% success rate if you do it properly. Losing fat is so simple when you think about it logically. The hardest part of the process is actually staying dedicated and motivated for the 16 weeks. But, like I said, suck it up for the first 4 or 5 weeks when the fat loss is a little slow. But after that, from week 5 or 6 onwards, you'll be so hooked on the changes you're seeing in the mirror, you'll want to see it out to the end and you're going to look incredible. Okay, you have my absolute word. If you still have more fat to lose after your first 16-week cut, reverse diet correctly, which I teach you how to diet in my video, reverse dieting, and start the process again. Gradually add the carbs back into your diet. Each time you complete it, you'll just get better and better. Okay? Think of it like this. If you started the process now and started doing things properly now, imagine how good you're going to look in exactly a year's time if you repeat the process again and again. Okay? Nice chat, guys. Talk to you again soon.